Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is yet another vlog, and with this vlog, it's going to be the first one in a while where I'm going to be talking about some trailers, some movie news, as well as showing some stuff that I picked up, and give you a little bit of an update on what I have planned and coming up next on the channel. Before I get into that, I want to make an announcement. I graduated from Washington State University, Vancouver. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in humanities, with a focus in English, secondary in digital technology and culture, and a minor in film studies. And I had a GPA of around 3.6 or 3.7, and because of that, I got the cum laude distinction. So, yeah, I've been so used to going to school and going to college that I'm still kind of adjusting to the fact that it's done. That I have completed that particular journey in my life, and as someone who started out so behind developmentally and behind the curve due to my Asperger's, just to be at this point where I'm telling you today that I graduated from college is a huge milestone and a remarkable achievement in my life. So I wanted to share that with you guys and you gals, and so yeah, it's been quite a journey, but there's been some bumps along the way. But overall, I'm glad I spent the time going to college. I know some people think it's a waste of money, and on one hand, I can get it, but my writing has gotten so much better because of my time at college, and so has my ability to think analytically. In a lot of ways, it's improved my reviews. I think it's improved the quality of my content. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it was worth every penny. Yeah, because of that, because I've graduated from college, I am going to have a lot more free time to do a lot more videos. So there's a lot of stuff I want to do. But I'll just give you a heads up on what I have planned for the most part. So I'm going to finish up the Critters reviews. I'm going to be recording some rants on Critters: A New Binge, Critters Attack. Then I am going to do some reviews of the Wall Street films because it was a PayPal request. I will put my PayPal in the video description down below for anyone that wants to request something for me to review. I also do have a Patreon. I did make a video about this before, but I'll put a link down there as well for that. And for Patreon, I'm going to try to do more exclusive stuff now that I have more time. I'm going to have even more free time, not just because of the fact that I don't have college work to work on, because my hours at work are not really the best. And that's just understandable considering there isn't really a whole lot of hours available to offer to me in terms of my employment because of the situation that's going on right now. That's subject to change. I don't know if it does, but either way, I'm going to find some ways to get me to keep myself busy and keep myself entertained. So if that's something that you want to do, those options are going to be available in the description down below. If it's something that doesn't interest you, that's fine too. Just thought I'd just throw that out there for those of you who are interested in doing something like that. So we have Wall Street reviews. Then after that, Woman in Black reviews for a longtime friend of mine in Patreon. Then I'm going to do some the reviews of the Night of the Demons films, which is another Patreon request. And those are all ones that have been a little bit I've been behind on because I just spend a lot of time during this month in particular working on the last of the projects and assignments that I needed to get done for my last semester at college. And in between that, those I'm going to be doing some random stuff, random reviews of films like Ransom, Six Underground, The Hunt. I have some reviews that I've had planned for on some Invisible movies that deal with like invisible characters. So Hollow Man, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, the new Invisible Man that came out this year, stuff like that. Part one of season one of Freddy's Nightmares is something I definitely want to do sometime this month because I watched the first I think 11 episodes of the series recently, and so I want to do a little video where I'm talking about those. I also have some plans to do possibly the Evil Dead films because I watched them again recently for an essay that I wrote for college. So I'm going to be planning on doing some reviews of those, either sometime this month or maybe sometime next month. There's also some other stuff I might want to do. I want to do a mini rant on whether or not films have actually aged poorly or they actually are problematic. That's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I've been seeing more articles and seeing more things that just really have spurred me to do that video. Also, another episode of Lost Film Files. I'm going to be trying to crank out more of those because I got more time now to do that. And some special exclusive stuff like I'm going to be posting in the near future the interview that I did with the screenwriter of The Funhouse, Larry Block. So I'm going to be posting the best of fairly soon in the next few days because I'm going to get to work on editing that this weekend. So I'm going to work on that. And that is going to be something that I will also post a full interview later on. But the best of is going to have the best clips from our interview with some pictures and footage maybe and some audio, some other music and so on and so forth. So there's going to be bells and whistles in that one. I'm aiming for like 25-30 minutes or something for the best of video. The full interview is around 2 hours, give or take, maybe a little bit longer than that. And I will post that unedited pretty soon afterwards, but with no bells and whistles. It's just going to be a Skype recording of him and I talking to one another. So that's the plan for that. I haven't heard anything concrete back from William Malone yet, the director of Creature, the House on Haunted Hill remake, but I did get in contact with him, and I've exchanged information, and I think he did express interest in doing something with me. But that was before we had the whole pandemic thing and the shutdown. So I'm thinking once things settle down a little bit more, I might contact him again and see what he wants to do, if he wants to do anything. So that's not a concrete, definite thing yet. But I have gotten through to him at least, and I've at least gotten to the point where he's expressed interest in doing something, which is a huge stepping stone. So we'll see what happens with that. And also, I'll probably just post the random stuff, whatever I'm feeling like at the time. I want to do some more collection videos one of these days, specifically my Laserdisc collection, maybe some more of my books. I want to do kind of a video about that because I have a lot of books, a lot of movie-related books and other stuff that I kind of do want to show one of these days. But there's a lot of stuff I'm thinking about, but it's just gonna be one of those things like, hey, whatever I'm in the mood for, that's what I'll do. But before I get into talking about some movie trailers and some sorry, excuse me, I just got some cat hair on here, it's kind of distracting me. But anyway, before I get into movie trailers and movie news, I want to show some stuff that I picked up fairly recently. Um, Hold on one second. I'm gonna go grab something because I did not get this out for the pile just yet. So there we go. Anyway, I'm gonna start out with some books. First, I'm gonna talk about a book that I ordered that I already got, but it's in another room. It's called Videoscope, and it's another one of those books that has short reviews from an author. But I got it because it's from this guy who calls himself the Phantom, and I got it for cheap from a Facebook group. And I've always wanted it because this actually includes some exclusive little brief interviews that this critic has with different actors and filmmakers. So it's a nice resource to have just for those little interviews. So anyway, the other books I got though are all related to movies and TV shows. So these are ones that I've had on my wish list for a while, but I decided to get them to support my local bookstore, Powell's Books in Portland. They had to close down because of the coronavirus and all of that, and so they were still taking online orders. So I wanted to support them, and so I got a few books from my wish list. So we got Homie, Don't Play That, the story of In Living Color and the Black Comedy Revolution. I've heard a lot of good things about this book, and I love In Living Color. It's honestly my favorite sketch comedy show. So definitely wanted to get my hands on that. Another sketch comedy show I enjoy that I've been liking, when it comes to my revisiting of it fairly recently, because I've been watching it off and on. So I decided to get the book. This came out, I think, this year or last year. It's a fairly new book. The Kids in the Hall, One Dumb Guy. So this is a retrospective history biography of the Kids in the Hall. So I've flipped through it a little bit. I haven't started to read it yet, but I would definitely recommend it already for diehard Kids in the Hall fans, because and even people who are just into sketch comedy. Then I got Apocalypse on the Set, 9 Disastrous Film Productions. I really like books like this. I haven't. There's another one I have called Tales from Development Hell. That's a good one, and books about films that were never made. Those are also really interesting, like the greatest sci-fi movies never made by David Hughes. Oh, and another book about disastrous film productions, Fiasco. That one I highly recommend. And the same author of that, James Robert Parrish, said this is a pretty decent book. So, yeah, I enjoy reading about just total disastrous film productions because it's just interesting. It's just interesting to see that they were even able to finish the movie, considering all of the obstacles and all the other things that were going on. And then I got this, which I am really looking forward to digging into. This is called Monster Squad. It has no relation to the movie Monster Squad, but it's a book by Heather A. Wixson, and it's a bunch of interviews with makeup effects artists. Steve Johnson, she did all these different interviews. So there's interviews with Gabe Bartalos, John Dykstra, Tony Gardner, Alec Gillis, Steve Johnson, Bob Keane, Todd Masters, Steve Wang, Tom Woodruff Jr., Phil Tippett, just all different types of makeup effects and just special effects artists, and a lot of cool photos and everything, black and white photos and interviews. And I love this stuff. This is stuff I'm really, really into. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. Essentially, it seems like what it is. It's unedited interviews with these technicians and masters of their craft, and it's similar to a behind the scenes little featurette that you would see on a DVD or Blu-ray. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that for sure. Sorry, I just had to get something real quick. So there's the books. Now we have a bunch of different Blu-rays. I only have like one DVD. Everything else is Blu-rays. So I did make a couple other orders. There's some pre-orders that are also on the way. There's something from Deep Discount I'm still waiting for. I ordered, it was a buy one get one thing, and I ordered Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original, but I haven't gotten it yet. It didn't say it was on back order when I ordered it, so I'm a little miffed. And I sent them an email, and I've yet to get a response. I have yet to get a response back from them about what's going on with it. So that honestly has me a little bit irritated. Like, and I sent it yesterday or the day before, and maybe it's just a weekend thing. Maybe they'll get to me on Monday. I don't know, but it's just a little like, I don't know. Seems like it's kind of lame. But anyway, I got Session 9, the Scream Factory release, because I did not have this on Blu-ray. I've heard a lot of good things about this film, and this has a decent amount of features on it. And I also, because Shout Factory actually had a decent sale for once. They're having a pretty decent sale right now with films that are going out of print on their catalog, and so they slashed some prices. So I got Sunny Boy, Supernova, and I also got another film that I've been curious about called Fender Bender. And with a code that I was given through a Facebook group called Shockwaves, I was able to get $10 off. So I don't know if the code still works. And it worked when I made the order today, but I don't know if it's going to work when you decide to use it. And I don't know if the sale's still going to be up whenever you see this video. But if that's the case, go ahead and check that code out and take advantage of the sale. The code has to be in all caps, by the way, too. And there's no space in between shock or waves. But anyway, Session 9 Blu-ray. Got that for the collection. I also got Warning Sign, finally. Really like this one. It's a gem. This is a film I might set aside for my watch list pile to watch and review one of the random titles, because I've always wanted to just sit down and do a review of this. So Warning Sign. Another one that I want to check out is Time Bomb with Michael Biehn. Big fan of Michael Biehn. This one always looked intriguing to me, where he's turned into like a human bomb, and I've never seen the film. So yeah, Time Bomb. We got Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh, because this is one of the titles that's going out of print, and I didn't have it on Blu-ray, and it has its moments, and there does have some good visuals. It's just not on the same level as the first film by any means. Rolling Thunder, with William Devane and Tommy Lee Jones, another title from Shout that's going out of print. These are two bootleg releases I got from a guy named Monsterland Media. He has his own website. Just Google Monsterland Media and you should be able to find it. I think he does a decent job. Not quite as good of a job as the Bootleg Master, but still does a decent job. I got Extreme Ghostbusters, the complete series, and I also got Men in Black, the series. Whatever happened to the Mill Creek announcement that they were going to do a release of this? I heard it was announced, and then nothing happened, which is too bad, because a lot of the later seasons, the only way you can see them is through VHS rips from back in the day, and some of the quality is really not the best. The first season was released on DVD, but none of the other seasons were released on DVD. I think seasons 3, was it 3 and 4? So 2 of the later seasons, or parts of them, were on Crackle, Sony's honestly pretty lame streaming platform. But the only high quality rips on here are the DVD ones. The rest are VHS, but they're not that bad. They're definitely watchable, especially compared to some of the later seasons. It's better than nothing, and I'm glad to have it, because I really like this series, and I think it's a great companion piece with Extreme Ghostbusters, because the art style is almost identical, and so is like the tone of each series. Then so that's it for the bootlegs. I did also order. That's one of the things I'm waiting for, because I got some graduation money from some of my friends, and so I ordered Erie, Indiana, and Are You Afraid of the Dark from Monsterland. So there's some other stuff that I'd like to get from him, but I'll probably wait a little while before I do that, because my plan is to get a few things within my budget, and then save whatever else I make. So here's some Arrow video releases. I got these from the Arrow sale a month ago. They just finally got here. Pieces. It's exactly what you think it is. To Live and Die in L.A. Only had that on DVD. Black Moon Rising, because I've never seen it, and also this has a video essay on John Carpenter's screenwriting career that I'm really interested in watching. City of the Living Dead for the Arrow collection. This was just filling in a lot of the gaps in my Arrow video collection of the titles that I was the most interested in or actually wanted in some capacity. The reason I'm not super big on this film, but I do like some of the visuals, and I do like the score, and this has a good amount of features, so I got it for the features for the most part. Then we have the Chill Factor, because this is a pretty good sale. They had a lot of stuff for fairly cheap. Edge of the Axe and The Prey. So that's it for the Arrow video releases. And then the rest are from various different sources. Some of them are from Amazon. Some of them are from Kino Lorber. Some of them are from secondhand sellers on Facebook. This is from a Facebook seller. The limited edition, the 25th anniversary collection of Jurassic Park on 4K. So this is the 4K Ultra HD box sets. This does not include Fallen Kingdom. I'm fine with that. I have that on Blu-ray thanks to a friend of mine, and I didn't really want Fallen Kingdom in 4K just yet. At least I didn't want the other set because it's ugly. The more recent set they came out with is ugly as hell. This looks great. I love the presentation of it. It's another one of those booklet sets where they open up like this. I know some people don't like those, but I actually don't mind them. I've warmed up to them. And carries over all the same features from the other releases. And it is honestly an upgrade over the original Blu-ray. Although it would be nice to see an actual new remaster in legitimate 4K for these films, because especially for the first movie. But I'm still glad to have this. It was a really good deal, because I not only got that from the same seller, but I also got Ad Astra in 4K. So we got Ad Astra, and this is another graduation gift. Friend of mine, Mike, he sent me some graduation money, and I got Gothic, the Vestron Collector's Series release, because this has been on my wish list for years, and I finally got around to getting it, and I'm shocked after all this time, after waiting so long. I ordered this from Amazon, and it still has the slip. I mean, I thought this was just gonna have no slip at all, because this has been out for at least a year or two. Actually, I think longer than that. At least 2 years. Yeah, 2018. It's been out since 2018. So I thought by now that I wouldn't get a slip, but I got one. I actually still haven't seen this, but I remember the trailer for it, and I remember seeing this VHS, and I still haven't seen the movie, but I've always been curious about it. And for the longest time, I never really got a DVD because they were all public domain shitty VHS rips. So this is in widescreen, it's remastered, so, and it has some features, so that should be fun. I got Dolly Dearest, the Vinegar Syndrome release. I also got the Rad release. Yes, I know about Rad. I know about their upcoming release of Rad. It's really rad. It totally is. If you're on the fence about that release, I would still suggest just buying it now, because they are only able to make limited quantities because of the agreement with whoever it is that owns the rights. So it's one of those titles where once they sell all the titles, all the copies, that's it. There's no more. They're not going to make any more. So if you want Rad, or you're on the fence about Rad, but you're still curious about Rad, get the Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. buy it directly from them, get your pre-order in, because you will just miss out, and then you'll have to pay like double, triple the price later on. But anyway, I got this because it's kind of a Child's Play, like an unofficial sort of Child's Play sequel, but not really. It's essentially is a cash in. I've never seen it though, and I really like Vinegar Syndrome's releases. And I wanted to see the interview with Denise Crosby and Ed Gale, so that's why I got it. And I think I might have shown this already, but screw it. I just decided to, even if I showed some of these previously, I'm just gonna show them anyway. Here we have the Banker. This is the Banker. This is the first release I've actually spent money on from Dark Force Entertainment. I don't like that company. I think the company is run by just two of the biggest douchebags in the Blu-ray industry. They don't give a shit about the movies they are releasing. Bill Olsen from Code Red has been notorious for literally, truthfully, not giving a fuck about any of the titles that he's releasing or has the rights to. He's all about the money, and that's it. And then DeFalco is a fucking juggalo Mickey Rourke, who thinks he's a fucking wrestler, and talking about fighting people in cage matches and shit, and the stupid Dark Force Club where it's like, you pay $250 or what was it, $500, some crazy amount of money, and you get Dark Force Blu-rays. And then they were trying to promote the Blue Monkey release as being a exclusive for the club, but then they got a lot of backlash for it, which is understandable. And then they backtracked in a video where they're like, no, we'll also release it separately. And I'm like, I just don't like that company. And I got this though because I like The Banker. I think it's an underrated cult classic, and I only had a bootleg DVD-R that I made myself, so I wanted to get The Banker. I wish that this was the original cover art, or some of the other poster art, because I really don't like this artwork. I always thought it was lame. This is the original artwork that they used for the original DVD, which is just a VHS put onto a disc. And they don't have the reversible cover art of the original poster. But I will say this. When I ordered this, it came fast. They did a good job shipping. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't want someone else, some other company, having the rights to films like The Banker or Blue Monkey or Da Pharma. I mean, really, I would like to have someone else own the rights to those movies instead of the folks at Dork Farce Entertainment. But, you know, it's better than nothing. The transfer's not bad. The sound isn't really the greatest, though. But I think maybe the sound mix for the movie itself wasn't really that great. I haven't really compared this to the 4K remaster that is on Amazon Prime streaming, so I can't really say that much about the two. But regardless, it wasn't that bad in terms of price, and I like this film a lot, so I wanted to get it. And honestly, they did a nice little sweet thing with this release. They dedicated this to the memory of Robert Forster, so you know that gets a little bit of a golf clap from me. But I don't like their tactics. Their business tactics suck. That being said, I did get The Banker. But I was planning on getting The Banker anyway. I was going to bite the bullet when it was available and get it because I like the movie that much. Then I got 3 O'Clock High, the collector's edition. Really enjoy this movie. I did review this film already on my channel. You can look it up. Only had it on DVD. Definitely wanted to get my hands on this. I don't know why they didn't have that. For some reason, Shout Factory, they're dropping the ball big time when it comes to throwing in Q&As. I don't get it. Like, there's a Q&A that's online that has interviews with more than the cast members that they have here. So I think that's a missed opportunity not to have the Q&A on there. But hey, there's still some features, and it's definitely an upgrade over the DVD. 3 o'clock high. Also got the Naked Gun trilogy on Blu-ray because I only had the films on DVD, so I wanted to upgrade to the Blu-ray for these 3 films. Really enjoyable, fun spoofs. I mean, Leslie Nielsen in fine form, just a lot of fun. Great. I also got Mr. Mom, the collector's edition from Shout Select. I'm going to save my thoughts on this film for later because I'm actually going to review it along with a bunch of other random Michael Keaton movies that you'll see reviews of that pop up randomly because I really love Michael Keaton. He's one of my favorite actors, so I've always wanted to do a Michael Keaton marathon. So I think that's what I'm going to do. If I'm like, oh man, I kind of want to take a break from some of the requests or take a break from some of these franchises. I'll pop in a Michael Keaton movie and then record a review later. It's an okay Blu-ray. It's a good transfer. Definitely an upgrade over the DVD. The little featurette is okay. It's all right. It has some nice interviews with the kids from the film all grown up and some of the other actors and the producer. But that's really it. It's kind of bare bones for a Shout Select release. The only big feature is the 20-something minute long featurette. And yeah, Michael Keaton doesn't really share any thoughts or anecdotes, which is really too bad. I really would have liked to have heard from Michael Keaton, especially for the film that really kickstarted his career. Mr. Mom is the film that catapulted Michael Keaton into stardom. It really is the movie that did it because Night Shift did all right, but it was a bit role for him. This is the first film that he got a major starring role in, and it was the first film that really showed investors and studios that he could be a bankable star. So it's honestly a bummer that he didn't want to provide anything for the film in terms of talking about the movie that essentially started his career. But that's just my opinion. It just seems like Keaton just doesn't really want to do a lot of interviews for things unless you pay him like a ton of money. He seems to be like the same kind of personality, or the same kind of guy as Peter Weller. But I mean, Peter Weller's doing voiceovers for RoboCop and Mortal Kombat 11. So I mean, but Peter, I got a bone to pick with Peter a little bit. So I will always have the utmost respect and appreciation for Peter Weller because he's RoboCop. And he's done a lot of other things that I really enjoy, like Screamers, Leviathan, of Unknown Origin, 50-50. He's one of my favorite actors. Naked Lunch, just so many movies that he's been in. Buckaroo Banzai, films that I enjoy. But he's such a crudmudgeon when it comes to doing interviews for anything that isn't Buckaroo Banzai. I don't understand. RoboCop, I get it. He's probably tired of talking about it. But it seems like if the money is right, there's a steady paycheck in it, he'll do anything you say. That's what it seems like. So like, you give me, KFC gives him a buttload of money or a good sum of money to embarrass RoboCop in these really cringy KFC advertisements, just totally embarrassing, slap in the face to the character and the integrity of RoboCop. But Peter Weller got a good paycheck out of it, so he agreed to do it. Then he does stuff like he does the voiceover work for for Mortal Kombat 11, and I think he did another thing fairly recently too. Before that was RoboCop related, but RoboDoc, nah, can't sit down for an hour or two, talk about answer a few questions, answer some stuff. I mean, I really would have liked to have heard his thoughts on RoboCop 2. RoboCop, maybe he's just asked a few questions that are trying not to be the same stuff that he's already answered a million times. But then with RoboCop 2, he hasn't really talked that much about it. So it would have been really nice to have heard his thoughts. Nope. Even if they were candid, even if Peter was shitting on aspects of the movie, it would have sucked to have heard that. But there still would be something worthwhile in that, because you'd still hear from him. You'd hear his honest thoughts on it. or his honest thoughts on Screamers, or his honest thoughts on Leviathan. And here's the thing. If he's trying to distance himself so much from his past, okay, fine. But Peter, you're running out of time. And a lot of us fans, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say about these other films that you were a part of. And if that's not recorded and kept for posterity, nobody will ever hear it. And it's kind of ironic considering he's a history major. You're a history major, Peter, and you are really preventing people from capturing your history. So, you would think as a history major and a professor of history at Syracuse University that you would put more emphasis into preserving your own history as an actor. But that's just me personally. But yeah, I had to go on a little rant there. I can do Mortal Kombat 11, I can do voiceover work, I can do KFC commercials, do all of this stuff. But can't sit down and talk about RoboCop again, and for new interviews, can't sit down and talk about Leviathan or Screamers or 50/50, or even Naked Lunch. If they do a new Blu-ray and want some new features, maybe you might do that for that. I don't know. But it's just disappointing. But he's not the only one. Michael Keaton's in the same boat. But at the same time, Michael Keaton was asked by the studio, Warner Brothers, to do an interview with Beetlejuice for Beetlejuice. I think he might actually do it, but it also might entail money too. And then with this whole pandemic thing, all these stars probably want to stay inside anyway and probably aren't going to do any interviews for a long time, so that's another problem. That's why I wish they just did it already, so we have it. So we don't have this instance like when Rutger Hauer passes away and we can't hear him talk about Split Second because he's no longer with us. This is the only DVD that I got, which is of The Terror Within and Dead Space. The reason why I got this is because I wanted The Terror Within. Don't really care about Dead Space. It clearly just looks like it's a VHS rip, which is alright, I guess. I don't know why The Terror Within didn't get a separate release with more features, but okay, I'll take it. We live in a world, folks, where The Terror Within 2 is on Blu-ray, but not the first film. Go figure. Probably rights or something. This is the other film that I got in the buy one, get one from, what is it? It's the Second Spin? So, Teachers, with Nick Nolte, Joe Beth Williams, and Judd Hirsch. Watched this recently. I really like this. I thought this was a total gem, really underrated drama with some genuinely hilarious and unpredictable moments. One of Nick Nolte's best performances. This is probably going to be one of those random reviews I upload one of these days because I liked it that much. One of the best films I've seen that deals with teachers. Doesn't pull any punches, and it actually is still very relevant today, sadly. A film from 1984 is still as relevant now as it was back then in terms of the issues and the problems with the school system. I love the fact that it shows both sides, the good and the bad of the school system. And I know there are people who have issues with the tone of the film. A lot of critics had issues with the tone of the film, but that's school. School is goofy, school is silly, but school is also serious and dark sometimes. And so I like the fact that it has both of those things because that's what school is. School is not one thing or another. School is not sunshine and rainbows. No matter what school you go to, there's always some kind of drama. There's always some kind of dark cloud, and that's what school is, and has always been. Picked up The Legacy. Got a really good deal on this. It was like what, $10 because I got it from a Facebook seller. I only had this on DVD. I wanted to get this because this is a film that's always fascinated me. First off, you get this bizarre cover art with a fucking pussycat and a hand. What the hell? What is The Legacy? What the fuck is what is this legacy? I don't want this legacy, whatever it is. I don't want it. But Sam Elliott's in it in an early role, and it's just a film that's fascinated me. Richard Marquand directed it, who did Return of the Jedi, and it's a film that there's a novelization of it, and I think I've read the book, and it was pretty creepy and weird. So I'm wondering if the movie is equally as creepy and weird as the book is. But yeah, The Legacy. I got Eastbound and Down. Kenny fucking Powers. This is the final season because I only had the first three. I have the first three seasons on DVD. The reason why I got this on Blu-ray is because it came with a package deal. The seller gave me a good deal on it. So Eastbound and Down. Then I got Enemy Mine. This is the Umbrella Home Entertainment release. This he sold me this. He even said ahead of time it's a little damaged. You can see on the side. The disc itself though is in good shape, and I like this film, so I wanted to get it on Blu-ray. Uh, Underrated Dennis Quaid movie. Got Raw Courage with Ronnie Cox, M. Emmett Walsh, Lois Chiles, Art Hindle. This is a fairly recent release from Scorpion Entertainment. I got it because I've been curious about this movie. This is essentially Ronnie Cox's baby. He wrote the film with Mary Cox, and he also was one of the producers, and he also stars in it. And it always looked interesting to me. There's some characters who are on a marathon, and they run into this band of feral commandos armed with full weapons and full weaponry and motorcycles, led by M. Emmett Walsh, who plays a psycho. So yeah, I'm really curious about Raw Courage. Here we have Jennifer for the collection. This is from the Kino Lorber sale that I got. Kino Lorber they have some certain titles that are going out of print. So one of those like get them while you can things. So I got a bunch of different titles from there. From that, Striker looked like it might be kind of a fun film. Last Embrace with Roy Scheider. Certain Fury with Irene Cara and Tatum O'Neal. I also got River's Edge with Crispin Glover and Keanu Reeves, Dennis Hopper. And these are ones I might have shown in the last video, but if I did, forgive me. I just want to cover all my bases just in case. Body Snatchers from Warner Archives. Showdown in Little Tokyo to upgrade my DVD. Really enjoy this movie. This is a classic. This is the unofficial Double Dragon movie. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, TV movie from the 70s. And then the last thing for DVDs, Blu-rays, I See You, and You See This. I See You was Stallone. I did not have the Blu-ray, only had the DVD. This is a release from MVD. This has the same interviews that were on the previous release. But the main reason why I wanted to get this is because it has the original version of the film under the title Detox. So it has the original version of the movie on here, the uncut version, the original release that before it was edited and whatever and turned into ICU. Which honestly, I like the title ICU better than Detox anyway. But yeah, decent. Haven't checked out the picture quality yet or anything. I think it's probably similar to the other release. But nice looking slipcover. Honestly, probably one of Stallone's more underrated films. Definitely. So that is it for the update portion. Now we're going to get to my lightning quick thoughts on some trailers and a little bit of movie news. So anyway, there really has not been a lot of trailers that have come out lately because a lot of films are getting pushed back to next year due to the pandemic, or there's films that aren't even getting released, period. But in terms of trailers, Josh Trank is back. He's back from his hiatus. He's doing a film called Capone. It's like a biopic with Tom Hardy playing Capone. That movie looks like it's going to be decent or it's going to be a train wreck. It doesn't look like it's going to be great to me. It looks like a film that's going to have some great visuals, but it looks like overall it's going to be kind of a muddled mess in terms of its narrative. But I'm kind of curious about it, and I honestly feel I'm glad Josh Trank is working again, because the more I look into the whole fan four stick situation, I feel bad for Josh Trank. I think he was going through something mentally at that time anyway, so some of his behavior might have stemmed from that. I don't think he's honestly as bad of a person as some people have made him out to be. Also, at the same time, I think he was rebelling. He was rebelling against the studio that was taking his film away from him. And I still feel for Josh, because not only do I not feel Fantastic Four, the film that he did, is not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. I think it's not great. I think it's average. But I mean, I will still stand by the fact I think Rise of Silver Surfer is a worse Fantastic Four film. I still feel that way. I think it's a much worse movie. Not only as a Fantastic Four film, but also as a superhero movie. There's barely no action in it whatsoever. Doctor Doom is wasted in a really, what honestly is just a cameo role. Silver Surfer just doesn't do much except stick his silver thumb up his ass for most of the movie. And Galactus is a fucking cloud. So if you're a fan of Fantastic Four, that movie does far more damage to the integrity of the characters than Josh Trank's film did. So Josh Trank's film was more serious. Nobody complained when Nolan did it with Batman. Nobody complained when, the Russo brothers did it with Captain America and the Winter Soldier. But God forbid some other filmmaker do that with Fantastic Four. And I like the body horror elements. I thought those were effective. The performances, for the most part, were not that bad. And I honestly, I'll say it. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I also don't think Green Lantern is as shitty as people make it out to be either. But Josh Trank, I just think I think there are some aspects of the production and some, especially the way he handled it, that's his fault. But other things are due to the studio and interfering. They hired him to do the vision that he sold them, and they told him to fuck off. And I don't think that's cool either. So people who think the studio was all in the right, or the studio was not to blame, or the studio was fine, to each their own. But I think the studio was just as shitty. They took his film away from him and then edited it and then changed things around and did reshoots, and he wasn't even able to finish the movie. He wasn't even able to give the film the ending that he wanted to give it, because the studio was like, oh, it's not funny enough. But, that's just how I feel about that particular situation. But anyway, yeah, he's back. He's doing Capone. I don't know. Like I said, it could be okay, but I don't think it's going to be anything other than that, unless it's a total train wreck. Speaking of train wreck, The Wrong Missy. What are you doing, David Spade? Come on, David Spade. I'd rather you do anything else other than lazy shit like this. Essentially, it's your typical comedy with some date or some character that the lead guy or gal meets that's crazy and is so quirky and weird that it's funny, but it just comes across as cringe. And that's really what's going on with this. I have no desire to see that at all. Any time that I would sit down and watch this movie would be the wrong time. We're talking about The Wrong Missy. The wrong time. It would always be the wrong time to watch The Wrong Missy. Then we have Extraction. It's a I think it was released on Netflix. It's an action movie with Chris Hemsworth. It looks like it might be decent. I don't know. I might check it out sometime. Just like I checked out Six Underground recently. I think like a couple weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. I liked Six Underground. I thought it was a blast. I would easily say it's one of my favorite films from last year. I'll talk about that more in another one of those random reviews. Speaking of random films, I saw Booksmart. I saw that film, the comedy that came out last year with the two girls who are graduating from high school but haven't partied yet because they're such extreme nerds. There was some fun stuff like the hallucination sequence that was a really nice love letter to stop motion. and the panda, that was pretty funny. Uh, but there's a lot of other stuff that I don't know wasn't really that great. It seemed like it was more serious at times than it was really funny. It was one of those films that really felt like a drama first, comedy second, and that does make some emotional scenes really resonate. And I thought the two gals did a good job as the leads, but I don't know, it just felt like a movie at times where the energy wasn't really consistent throughout, and it just was just honestly the epitome of average to me. A really average, for the most part, forgettable coming of age comedy that wasn't really laugh out loud funny. There were a few scenes that made me laugh pretty hard, but other than that, there's a lot of typical stuff you've seen done in other movies like this. And it was nice to see two gals and them being the focus of something like this, but I don't know. I just feel it wasn't as edgy or as raunchy, or it didn't go as far as I personally felt that it could have. Like, it's trying to be super bad in some aspects, but for young, teenage girls, but then it never really goes all the way. So it's just like, why are you go big or go home with this kind of movie? But that's just how I viewed that particular movie. Um, Speaking of comedies and dramas, that leads to the trailer for King of Staten Island. I'm not super big on Pete Davidson, so I think that's the big reason why I'm just very indifferent about this. I don't think he's that great of an actor or comedian. I don't think he was really that great in SNL, so it's just one of those guys where I'm just like, I don't know. It just doesn't really interest me. If it interests you, that's cool. It's coming out streaming on demand in June, so you can check it out then. I mean, I've just never really been the biggest fan of that particular comedic actor, or it's just I don't know. That's just me personally with Pete. Um, then we have the only other film trailer I want to talk about is a movie called Becky. And the reason why I mention it is because it's got a certain actor in it who's doing a role that's very different to the normal sort of shtick that he does. And I love it when actors do this, where they go that far out of their comfort zone. And that's why I'm interested in it. And also because it reminds me in some ways of Deadly Games, which is a film from overseas that had this kid. It was in a lot of ways it was a precursor to Home Alone before Home Alone, where this kid fends for himself against this murderous Santa Claus. Well, in Becky, there's this kid fending for herself against this murderous. I think it's a KKK, not necessarily K. I think it's a white supremacist. So it's which KKKs, they're racist too and white supremacy, but I think neo-Nazi. So she's fighting against a neo-Nazi, and the leader of this neo-Nazi group, is played by Kevin James. Yeah, Kevin James. Kevin Can't Wait, King of Queens, Fat Funny Guy, playing a neo-Nazi. And honestly, it looks the part. He's going all in on it. He got the fake tattoos, the Nazi symbol on the back of his head. He's got the beard, full-on beard. I'm curious about it, and it's R-rated. It's not holding back, and I like the energy and the style of the trailer. So yeah, I'm curious about that one for sure. I'm honestly very interested in that. Speaking of upcoming stuff, Blu-rays. So we got Rad, that's coming out. Scream Factory's doing Ghost Ship. I don't really care about that. They're doing a collector's edition of Ghost Ship. If you're a fan of that one, Scream Factory's doing a release of that. Just like they're doing one for 13 Ghosts. There's rumors that they're going to do a Friday the 13th box set. I hope that's true. Fingers crossed. In terms of other upcoming releases for Blu-rays, I'm trying to remember about anything else that I can... Oh yeah, 88 Films just came out with... Excuse me. A collector's edition of Mystery Men. So if you're a fan of that film, and I definitely am, it's a new release of the film. It's got a booklet, in it with some essays on the movie, as well as some new features, some new interviews with some of the cast and crew. Not a lot of the cast, but production designers, art directors, effects guys, stuff like that. So if you're interested in seeing a little bit more behind the scenes on Mystery Men, 88 Films just did a release of that. They're also doing Anaconda. They did it as a part of their Anaconda box set, but they're releasing it separately now, and that has interviews with people like Steve Johnson, who did the effects. So if you're interested in that, they're also releasing a separate release of that film. They are from the UK. I don't know if their titles are 100% region locked or not, but they are from the UK, so keep that in mind. And they still are shipping to the US, but only certain titles. For some reason, they're not shipping certain titles to the US right now. Studio Canal is doing a 4K box set of Flash Gordon, the 1980 film, 4K remaster. And they're also including in the box set Life After Flash, the documentary about Sam Jones, as well as a bunch of other bells and whistles like lobby cards and other collectible stuff and doodads and so on and so forth. So if you're really a big, and I think it's copy the soundtrack CD as well. So if you're a really big fan of Flash Gordon, that's coming out. Amazon UK is not allowing pre-orders to the US right now. I get it, but on one hand I kind of don't, because it's a pre-order. It's not like supposed to ship out like right away. It's supposed to ship out in August, so I think it's kind of lame that they're not accepting pre-orders to the U.S. Like, you could at least like say, oh, we'll accept pre-orders, but there's no guarantee that you're going to get it yet. Things are still up in the air with shipping and all of that and restrictions. If something happens, we'll let you know, and we'll cancel the pre-order. But they won't even do pre-orders, which I really don't understand that. I get it with not shipping things that are already in stock to the U.S., but it's a pre-order for something that's supposed to come out in August. But Zavi UK is doing pre-orders, and I think there might be some other places that are doing them as well. Paramount is doing their Select series, which they're going to be doing Golden Child in that, but I actually haven't heard anything about the features on that just yet. I'm trying to think of other upcoming releases that are worth mentioning. I know Umbrella Home Entertainment is doing a release of Uncommon Valor. Sadly, it's bare bones, but at the end of the day, that's a little bit better than nothing. I think there was a more recent release that's coming out that it's worth mentioning. Second Sight is still doing their Dawn of the Dead box set, 4K, all of that. They just haven't really announced a pre-order date just yet. Things got thrown out of whack because of the pandemic, so they are working on trying to get everything together and do a new release and so on and so forth. There's another release. I'm trying to find it because I don't want to forget it, because I'm talking about Blu-ray releases, so I don't want to like just skip it or miss it or something. But I did see something about this getting a release. So I wanted to mention it while I could, while it was on my mind. Oh, there it is. Deep Star 6. Kino Lorber Studio Classics, they're doing a release of Deep Star 6, which is cool. I don't have that on Blu-ray, so that would be nice to add to the underwater horror movie collection of films from 1989. What's interesting is Kino Lorber, they released The Rift, Endless Descent. So they did that before Deep Star 6. So I think it's kind of interesting. So that's really all I want to say about upcoming DVD and Blu-ray releases. There might be some others that slip my mind. If you want to hear some of my thoughts on any of the other ones that you heard about that I haven't mentioned, go ahead and leave the title or the titles in the comments down below. Now we're getting to my thoughts on some movie news. Apparently it's going to be a Scream 5. Neve Campbell's been interviewed, or she's been asked to talk about it, and I don't really care. We don't need a fifth Scream. Then we already have a Scream TV series. We don't need another one. Then we have Children of the Corn. There's going to be another remake. Why? We don't need any more. That's another franchise. We definitely do not need any more Children of the Corn films. You already remade it in this with some Sci-Fi Channel original movie, and it sucked. Why do we need? We don't need any more Children of the Corn movies. We don't need any more corn. Killer kids with corn movie. We don't need any more of them. There's been way too many anyway. There's more Children of the Corn films than probably Stephen King even would have remotely dreamed of or even thought about there being. Nobody thought there was going to be like 50, 11 billion Children of the Corn films when the first movie came out in the first place. So we don't need another one. What are you going to do? What we don't what are you going to add anything new to it? How are you going to do anything new with this? Apparently it's a remake that's being done in Australia, and they're still shooting and putting things together despite the shutdown. Okay. But yeah, more Children of the Corn. I can't even say Children of the Corn because I'm so tired of Children of the Corn. We don't need any more of them. Avatar 2 and 3. I don't care about Avatar sequels. It's been so long. And at the same time, I think Fox and Jimmy Cammey are really overestimating how successful these Avatar sequels are going to be. I don't think these films are going to do that well when they come out. If they even come out into theaters where people are willing to sit down in a theater, let alone pay money to see a movie in a theater after what has happened with the pandemic. I know one of my friends mentioned something about my thoughts on an HBO Hellraiser series. That's another thing we don't need any more of. I don't care. I'm not interested. It's let these horror icons die. Let them rest in peace. We don't need any more Hellraisers. We don't need any more Nightmare on Elm Streets. We don't need any more Leatherfaces or Texas Chainsaw Massacres. We don't need any more Child's Play movies, Chucky films, even though I guess I heard the remake isn't that bad, but I'll check that out sometime. But despite that, we still don't need any more. They've been done to death. We've had enough. You know what would be nice to see more of? Tales from the Crypt. And the reason why is because you can do more new stories with Tales from the Crypt because it's an anthology series. It's an anthology series where you could have new horror writers write new stories and do new series and new episodes. Bring back John Kassir to voice the Crypt Keeper. But no. All this endless streams of fucking horror reboots and remakes and all this other shit, and we can't get a new Tales from the Crypt series. And I'm not counting the TNT version because it wasn't going to have the Crypt Keeper, and it was just going to be American Horror Story, but not. It's going to be a rip-off of that taking place in somewhere, I think in New Orleans or some shit. That doesn't really count because it's really Tales from the Crypt in name only. It's still a massively popular show. People are still really big fans of it. It was arguably the most influential show that HBO ever aired because until Tales from the Crypt came along, they were not known as a channel that had original programming that could really affect the mainstream audiences and culture. Yes, they had shows like Dream On that did all right and some other stuff that, like The Hitchhiker and some other stuff that did bring in some viewers, but nothing of the caliber of Tales from the Crypt. And because of Tales from the Crypt, that led to other potential filmmakers and producers and investors taking HBO seriously for original programming. And that's what opened the door for The Sopranos and for stuff like Game of Thrones. But nope, even in this day of horror revivals, even this day of a Creepshow TV series, no news, no information, no anything about more Tales from the Crypt, and I don't get it because I honestly guarantee, like I did when I was talking about a Deadpool movie, and I made a guarantee. I said I guarantee that film is going to be a huge success if it's done right, and I was right. I guarantee if Tales from the Crypt is done right with the horror audience and with all the people who are really into horror, if that is done right, a reboot, a new season of the series with John Kassir and the Crypt Keeper puppet, and you have new stories and practical effects, I guarantee that show's going to be a hit. Whether it's HBO, Showtime, whatever streaming series, HBO Max. Hey, here's a prime new show you can get going. And I understand why they can't do it right now because of the pandemic, but once things settle down, do it. What are you waiting for? We're in the age of revivals. Do more Tales from the Crypt. But, I'm also a Tales from the Crypt fanboy, so I'm not really the most objective, source for that kind of thing. But I've seen how popular that show was, and I see how popular it still is. So, and I know how rabid this horror fan base is. So, just like I knew how rabid the Deadpool fan base is. So, I think I kind of do know a little bit of, you know, how this might do well. Something that didn't really do that well, but it is still potentially going to have a sequel is Bright. Now, Bright, I'm not saying it didn't do well. It's just a film that didn't get a theatrical release for whatever reason. Uh, it was released to Netflix, and it didn't do well with some critics because they thought it was offensive or whatever. I liked Bright. I thought it was actually a good movie. So I'd be curious about a sequel. Apparently, Louis Leterrier is going to be the director. And he's kind of hit and miss, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't know about that. There's going to be a Borderlands movie? Well, that's new. I guess Kevin Smith wants to revive Clerks the animated series for Netflix. Kevin Smith. I haven't even seen as many films that Kevin Smith has done like my friends have, but I agree with the sentiment that my friend Matt says about Kevin Smith. Unless you're going to stop smoking the weed and you're going to take things a little more seriously and you're going to try to recapture some of that unique originality and genuine passion for your craft as you had early on in your career, I don't want any parts of another Clerks animated series. I don't. Put down the weed and then we'll talk. Until then, no. Disney Plus is doing a version of The Right Stuff. I mean, I've looked at the cast. A bunch of who the fuck are these people for the most part. And I think it's going to be incredibly hard to top the original 80s film in terms of a cast. You got Dennis Quaid. You got Fred Ward. You got Sam Shepard. I mean, that's a really great cast. And I might have forgotten. I think I might have forgotten another actor that's a part of that cast. But yeah, that's like one of the best casts ever for that kind of movie. And a lot of them were like early on in their careers, just starting to take off. Ed Harris. That's the other one. Ed Harris. Fred Ward. Scott Glenn. And I just think that film did a really good job telling the story. So I don't really see how a miniseries on Disney Plus is really going to improve upon it that much. But I don't know. I mean, it's based on a best-selling book, based on a true story, so they might be able to do something new with it. But I don't know. We'll see. Some Steve Carell comedy called Space Force. Didn't look that funny. Not really that interested in it. Tom Cruise apparently wants to shoot a movie in space. I'm not surprised, man. Tom Cruise wants to do it all. He wants to do his own stunts. He wants to hang off the side of a fucking plane in midair. And now he wants to be going to outer space. And hey, hell, if it's as entertaining as these Mission Impossible sequels, I'm all for it, man. Let Tom Cruise do his own version of Moonraker. I'll be fucking all for it, man. I mean, I'm there. I'm there for this. I'm totally there for this. Apparently, NASA is excited to work with Tom Cruise on a film above the space station. So he's actually going to do it. He's going to go into space. Tom Cruise is going to go where no actor has gone before. Love it. I guess New Mutants is going to finally get released, but it's going to be released directly to streaming. So it's going to be VOD. It's going to be video on demand. Finally, it should have done that a year ago. I mean, I get it. Disney was trying to wait. They were trying to see if they could make some money. I understand, but it had been delayed so many times. I don't think it was ever going to do that well in the box office if it did come out and there was no pandemic. So I'm just glad that they're releasing. I'm glad they're not waiting. I'm glad they're not trying to be like, oh no, we're still going to release it in theaters. I'm glad that Disney gave up on that, to be honest. I'll check it out sometime. I'm not super excited for. I think it's going to be disappointing because I don't think it's going to have the right tone, but we'll see. We shall see soon enough on the New Mutants. Although I gotta be honest, the image of the Demon Bear is pretty cool. I guess Nicolas Cage is going to play Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, in a Tiger King miniseries. That's pretty good casting. I personally would have got Nick. I was almost going to Nicolas Cage again, but no, really, what I would have went for is Michael Keaton, because there are certain shots in the Tiger King documentary where Joe Exotic smiles and it's Michael Keaton. So I honestly think Michael Keaton would have done an amazing job because he's a great actor and he's really capable of being funny, but also dark and sinister. But Nicolas Cage is also capable of that kind of stuff too. I'm curious to see what Nick Cage is gonna do with the Tiger King. And I saw that documentary series, by the way. I saw Tiger King. I liked it. I've seen better documentary series, but I did enjoy the Tiger King series, and the exploits of Joe Exotic and all the fucking craziness and Carol fucking Baskin, uh, but but yeah, I did enjoy that series for the most part. Speaking of Netflix, I'm watching the second season of Dead to Me with Christina Applegate, and I think it's Linda Cardellini. I think that's who it is. Really getting into the second season so far, just as strong as the first. I highly recommend Dead to Me. I do. Even, yes, it's a bit melodramatic at times. It is, in a lot of ways, a soap opera. But I recommend it because it's got some really great dark comedy in it and some absolutely brilliant performances by Applegate and Cardellini. Cardellini in particular in the second season right now, I think it's episode 3 or 4. She is just absolutely killing it, and she deserves an Emmy nomination, if not an award. Give her the award right now for Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress. I'm not kidding. Like, she's that good. And if you've seen the show, I think you might know what I'm talking about. So Taika Waititi is going to do some Star Wars movie. I don't give a fuck about a new Star Wars movie, especially now from Taika Waititi's overrated ass. I did like What We Do in the Shadows. I didn't think Thor Ragnarok was as funny or as entertaining or as amazing as a lot of other people made it out to be. I thought it was average. I thought it was okay. I thought it was a time waster for me. The jokes, for the most part, a lot of them fell flat to me. I thought they were lame. This is our new comedic genius, is Taika Waititi. I'm not buying it. And I don't care about his Star Wars movie either. Oh, finally, cool. The Never Surrender Galaxy Quest documentary is finally available to stream on Amazon. I'm going to check that out sometime because I heard about that and wanted to see it, but they didn't have it for stream. They only had it in the theater. So I'm glad it's available. Really enjoy Galaxy Quest. This is another one I need to review. That and Spaceballs. Really like both of those movies. They're two of my favorite comedies. Definitely two of my favorite science fiction comedies. Antebellum, I do want to see that. I hope it gets released. I think they pushed it forward. I think it's going to come out later. John Wick 4 and Spiral, I think they're going to get new releases. I mean, they're not going to arrive in theaters until 2022. And, okay. Spiral, I think, is getting pushed back as well. And a lot of this isn't surprising, all of these films getting pushed back because of the pandemic and whatever. So I'm not surprised, and I'm not holding it against them for doing this. What? Oh, okay. It's a movie called Aliens Are Stealing Our Weed. Okay. For a second, I thought, because it said something about Michelle Rodriguez, Gina Rodriguez. Sorry, it said about Gina Rodriguez, and it was like, Gina Rodriguez thinks, aliens are stealing our weed, and I'm like, what? Is she smoking too much weed? Why is she thinking that? And then I looked at it further. Then it's like, oh no, it's some news about some studio. I think it's Paramount who bought a spec script called "The Aliens Are Stealing Our Weed." They're probably gonna retitle it because I don't think they're gonna go with that title. I really don't think they're gonna go with "The Aliens Are Stealing Our Weed" title. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't know about more movie news here. I don't really. Seems like there's not a lot. Or there's Space Jam 2. It's called A New Legacy. I don't like that. Just call it Space Jam 2. Why do we need to call it A New Legacy? Just call it Space Jam 2. I like that better. I like Space Jam. It's not a masterpiece. But I don't like it ironically either. I actually legitimately like the movie for what it is. It's a cartoon. It's fun for a cartoon. Uh, but yeah. It's been like over an hour, but then again, I haven't done one of these in a while, so I don't really know what to say other than yeah. I did also hear about murder hornets, and they are in Washington, and I don't want to deal with those fucking things. They're like this big. Like, get out of here. It's like shit out of Food of the Gods. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I got a film recommendation for you all. Uh, Instead of waiting for whatever shitty low budget rip-off uh, asylum level movie that's going to come out that's trying to capitalize on murder hornets, go see Stung. Check out Stung. See if it's streaming somewhere or pick it up for cheap on DVD and Blu-ray or rent it. It's worth it. Check it out. It's a fun throwback creature feature, and it deals with giant wasps. So it's right up there. It's perfect. So it's the Murder Hornet movie before there were murder hornets. But no, I really do recommend that one. It's got great practical effects. Lance Henriksen is in the cast. It's got some nice witty dialogue, fun writing. Got a nice tone. And overall, I thought it was a gem. I thought it was a really overlooked, fun creature feature from the past few years. So I highly recommend that one. So if you're in the mood for checking out some movies about giant wasps or bees or whatever, check that out. Also, maybe give something like The Swarm a chance from the 70s with Michael Caine. That's a fun, over-the-top disaster movie with killer bees. Oh, and not necessarily killer bees, but killer insects. You have arachnophobia. If you're in the mood for spiders, and if you're in the mood for something that's completely different in terms of the insect world, check out Ticks with the young Seth Green and Alfonso Ribeiro from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fame. A lot of great practical effects in that one. Clint Howard also has a bit role in it. So yeah, those are some recommendations for some killer insect movies if you're in the mood for that. But anyway, thank you for watching this video, and thank you for all of your support for all the years, and thank you for your recent support if you just got here, or you've just been subscribed for just a little bit. I'm going to be churning out a lot more content than I have been in the past because I have more time. So if you were wondering, or if you've been wanting to see more from me, there you go. That you're definitely going to see more from me in the upcoming weeks and months and so on and so forth. But anyway, hope you all are doing okay despite the pandemic or the lockdown. Hope you're all healthy. I hope you are all doing very well. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you later. See ya.